border crisis, KPRC2 has covered all the big developments from the Texas-Mexico border for many years now.
And tonight we kick off 2 full days of in-depth reporting. KPRC2 anchor Daniella Guzman leads off that coverage. She is live in McAllen. Daniella.
Keith, Christine, we spent the day here in McAllen speaking to families, and McAllen is one of the busiest border towns for migrant crossings in the United States. And when we spoke to these families, we asked them why they're coming, where they're going. We even met a family that's headed to Houston. We'll get to that in just a moment, but first we want to go to KPRC2 investigative reporter Robert Arnold, who's been covering the immigration issues and the border for more than a decade. Robert, you have seen and covered things from the border wall to family crossings and even unaccompanied children.
And right now, the numbers being reported by Customs and Border Protection show the agency will likely exceed the numbers that they saw in all of last year, which hit an historic high. Last year, the federal government reported 1.7 million encounters along our southwest border. An encounter is defined as someone who is caught illegally crossing the border or someone who shows up at a port of entry and is deemed inadmissible to the United States. This year, the government is already reporting more than 1 million encounters. And the demographics of who's showing up at the border are also changing. 26% are from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Another 37% are from countries around the world. In the past, the vast majority of people seen at the border were from Mexico. Now, how to handle exactly what is happening along our border has kicked off an intense amount of political fighting. President Joe Biden's administration wants to enact immigration reform, believing that will have an impact on what we're seeing at the border. Republicans say until we get a handle on what's happening on the border, they're not going to talk about immigration reform. Point in case, Texas Senator John Cornyn and Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar filed the only bipartisan border bill last year, and that bill called for a large influx of resources to be sent to the border to decide asylum claims quickly rather than continuing to funnel those claims into an already backlogged court system. When I caught up with the senator, I asked him about the status of that bill.
It hasn't made a lot of progress, although we have been adding some bipartisan co-sponsors to it. We're trying to be constructive, but we need a dance partner, and we simply can't seem to find one here in Washington because of the politics of border security and immigration.
And Senator Cornyn was blunt in saying he does not see an end anytime soon to the political stalemate. In the interim, though, President Biden's administration has released a multi-part plan for handling the border. One part of that plan calls for providing increased funding to charity organizations that help immigrants who are recently released from Customs and Border Protection custody and are being allowed to remain in the United States while their cases are pending in immigration court. And Daniella, I understand you spent the day with one of these organizations.
I did, Robert. Today, we met families who came here to this building behind me. It's a nonprofit organization. They had nothing in their hands. All they had was the clothes that they were wearing, and many of them a child in each hand. But all of them came here to this building. This is Catholic Charities Humanitarian Respite Center, and they all came here looking for hope, looking for healing, some help, some direction, and a safe place to start over with their families. Children smiling while coloring on the floor, running around and playing with other kids in a safe, air-conditioned place. Although many of these migrants have no idea what tomorrow may bring for them and their families, they know at this exact moment they have Sister Norma Pimentel and her staff at Catholic Charities Respite Center in McAllen, ready to welcome them along with 200 to 300 migrants each day.
Right there, a transformation happens. They've been through very hard times, suffering and hurting.
As soon as the family is walking through the door, they're greeted with a big smile and a big welcome. They walk over here, they get all of their personal essential items like toiletries, diapers, things like that. They come across this big open space where they wait. They wait to be registered right here at these blue chairs, and that is when all the help begins in this new chapter of their life.
In the meantime, they get to rest, to play, to eat, to take a shower, to get cleaned up, and then go.
Sister Pimentel says the idea is to help guide the migrants to take their next steps.
Our goal is not to stay too long because it's a respite center, it's not a shelter. And it gives them a chance to get what they need, to feel, and for us to receive others, So we're constantly saying goodbye and saying welcome.
At 8 o'clock, the floors are clean. These blue chairs are removed. They lay down mats so the families who stay overnight can rest if they haven't left for their final destination yet. I asked this mother from Honduras how she felt the moment she stepped into the United States.
Una felicidad.
In Spanish, she says happiness and relief, because you never know if you will actually make it across into a safe place. That mother, Alejandra, is headed to Houston as soon as she can. She wants to be reunited with her other two children, who she says she hasn't seen them in more than 3 years. You can imagine what an emotional reunion that will be. But coming up at 10 o'clock, I invite you to join us. We're going to tell you about Alejandra's story, how she got here, everything that she went through, and what she plans on doing once she gets to Houston. That's tonight at 10 o'clock. Reporting live from McAllen, I'm Daniella Guzman, KPRC 2 News.